History is often painted with broad strokes of grand battles and sweeping conquests, moments of intense conflict that capture our imaginations. But beneath the surface, history is also shaped by the quiet power of negotiation, the subtle art of diplomacy, and the agreements forged in the halls of power. These moments, though less dramatic, often have far-reaching consequences. The Ottoman-Mamluk Treaty of 1579 was one such pivotal moment, a seemingly simple agreement on paper. But this treaty was an agreement that quietly altered the destiny of the Middle East, reshaping its political landscape and influencing its future trajectory for centuries to come. Two old rivals, the Ottoman Empire and the Mamluk Sultanate, empires steeped in history and tradition, weary from decades of intermittent conflict and facing new, emerging threats on multiple fronts, chose diplomacy over war, opting for a path of negotiation and compromise instead of further bloodshed. By the late 16th century, a period of immense change and upheaval across the globe, both powers realized that old enmities, the long-standing conflicts that had defined their relationship, were a luxury they could no longer afford in a rapidly changing world. This treaty was more than a simple ceasefire, a temporary pause in hostilities. It was a fundamental realignment of power at a global crossroads, a strategic shift that would impact trade, security, and regional stability. It addressed pressing military challenges, outlining new strategies for defense and cooperation, redrew economic landscapes by establishing new trade routes and commercial agreements, and fostered a new era of cooperation, laying the groundwork for future alliances and partnerships. The consequences shaped trade, influencing the flow of goods and resources across the region, military strength, impacting the balance of power and the ability to project force, and the region's response to the growing ambitions of European powers and the ever-present threat from the Safavid Empire to the east. Understanding this treaty, its nuances and implications, is key to understanding the next chapter of Middle Eastern history, providing crucial context for the events that would unfold in the centuries that followed. We'll explore the complex web of political pressures that led to this unlikely alliance, examining the motivations and calculations of the key players involved, the intricate negotiations that shaped the final agreement, and the compromises that were made along the way, and the immediate and long-term impacts of the treaty on the region's political, economic, and social fabric. More importantly, we'll see how it reshaped military strategies, forcing both empires to adapt to a new era of cooperation and competition, economic partnerships, fostering new trade relationships and stimulating economic growth, and the political map, altering the balance of power and influencing the boundaries of empires. Prepare to uncover a moment that, though often overshadowed by the grand narratives of wars and conquests, fundamentally changed the world, leaving an indelible mark on the course of history. Let's begin this journey of discovery. In 1579, the Ottoman Empire, ruled by Sultan Murad III, presented an image of unparalleled strength and influence. The Sultan, seated on his opulent throne, oversaw a vast domain, a testament to centuries of conquest and strategic alliances. The very air of the Ottoman court was thick with power, a palpable sense of authority that resonated throughout the empire. Its territories stretched from the strategic Balkans, a gateway to Europe, across the diverse lands of North Africa, and extended deep into the heart of the Middle East, encompassing vital trade routes and resource-rich provinces. Yet, beneath this imposing facade of power and control, subtle but significant cracks were beginning to form, hinting at underlying vulnerabilities. Managing such vast and geographically diverse lands, with their varied cultures and local customs, placed immense strain on the empire's resources and administrative capabilities, testing the limits of its centralized control. The ongoing and protracted conflict with the Safavid Empire in Persia, a clash of empires and ideologies, proved to be a costly and relentless ideological struggle, constantly draining the empire's military strength and financial reserves. Simultaneously, European naval powers, most notably Spain with its formidable fleet, were increasingly challenging Ottoman dominance and naval supremacy in the Mediterranean Sea, a vital artery for trade and communication. Internally, the empire faced growing fiscal difficulties, widespread corruption within its bureaucracy, and the inherent challenges of slow communication across its vast and geographically dispersed provinces. Egypt, a strategically vital province, remained heavily influenced by the remnants of the Mamluk elite and was absolutely crucial to the empire's survival as its primary breadbasket, providing essential grain supplies for the population. Furthermore, Egypt served as a major source of revenue through trade and taxation, contributing significantly to the Ottoman treasury. Any instability or unrest in Egypt therefore posed a direct threat to the entire Ottoman system, potentially disrupting vital supply lines and financial flows. The Ottomans desperately needed to maintain stability and order in Egypt, ensuring the continued flow of resources and revenue. This stability was paramount in order to allow the empire to effectively focus its attention and resources on the greater threats posed by the Safavids in the east and the European powers in the west. Pragmatism and strategic necessity dictated a new approach, a shift in policy that recognized the changing realities on the ground. This new approach involved fostering cooperation and collaboration with the Mamluks, rather than relying solely on constant suppression and military force. A carefully negotiated treaty could potentially secure Egypt's loyalty and stability, free up valuable resources that were previously dedicated to maintaining order, and ultimately strengthen the empire's overall strategic position. The stage was carefully set for a significant strategic realignment, a calculated effort with far-reaching consequences. The Ottoman diplomats, seasoned in the art of negotiation, were ready to engage in talks, prepared to navigate the complex web of political interests and secure a favorable outcome for the empire. By 1579, the Mamluk Sultanate was a shadow of its former glory, but far from powerless. Though conquered by the Ottomans in 1517, the Mamluks retained deep influence in Egypt, controlling land and local military forces. Their cooperation was essential for effective governance and taxation. Internal rivalries weakened them, but their nuisance value and local networks gave them leverage. The Mamluks faced eroding wealth as global trade routes shifted, undermining their economic base. Open rebellion was suicidal, but strategic negotiation could secure their interests. The Ottomans' external pressures made Mamluk cooperation valuable. A treaty offered the Mamluks recognition, stability, and a chance to preserve their status. For the Mamluks, survival now meant adaptation, not defiance. The prospect of formal agreement became a pragmatic path forward. The late 16th century saw the Middle East squeezed by powerful rivals. The Safavid Empire posed a relentless threat from the east, forcing the Ottomans to keep large armies on their Persian frontier. European powers, especially Portugal and Spain, disrupted trade and challenged Ottoman control at sea. For the Mamluks, instability in Ottoman rule threatened their own position. Both sides realized that internal conflict only made them vulnerable to external enemies. A formal alliance could secure their interests against these converging threats. The logic of survival pushed Ottomans and Mamluks toward negotiation. The road to the 1579 treaty was paved with caution and necessity. The Ottomans, stretched thin, saw that securing Egypt through agreement was wiser than endless conflict. The Mamluks, aware that independence was impossible, sought the best terms for autonomy and survival. Negotiations were delicate, likely conducted through intermediaries and secret meetings. The Ottomans wanted loyalty, tribute, and military support. The Mamluks pressed for recognition of their rights, a share in revenues, and protection from arbitrary rule. Each side bargained hard, but necessity drove compromise. The Ottomans needed a secure southern flank. The Mamluks needed stability. Shared threats and mutual interests finally brought them to the table. The stage was set for a historic accord. After months of intense negotiation, filled with strategic maneuvering and careful deliberation, the Ottoman-Mamluk Treaty of 1579 was finally signed, solidifying a new era of relations between these two significant powers. The signing marked the culmination of countless hours of discussion and compromise. The ceremony, whether it unfolded in the bustling heart of Cairo or at a carefully selected neutral site, chosen to symbolize impartiality, marked a dramatic and undeniable shift in the delicate balance of regional power, reshaping the political landscape of the Middle East. For the Ottomans, the treaty represented a significant strategic victory, secured Egypt as a vital territory within their expanding empire, ensured a steady and reliable stream of revenue flowing into the Ottoman treasury, bolstering their economic strength, and perhaps most importantly, freed up valuable troops and resources for deployment on other critical fronts, allowing them to expand their influence elsewhere. Egypt's stability now rested on a foundation of cooperation and mutual benefit, rather than on coercion or forced compliance. The Mamluks, on the other hand, gained formal recognition of their authority and legitimacy within Egypt, local autonomy in governing their affairs, and a crucial layer of protection from the potential overreach of ambitious or unscrupulous Ottoman governors. Their established social hierarchy and considerable influence were carefully preserved and integrated within the broader framework of the Ottoman Empire. Both sides ultimately benefited from this agreement. The Ottomans gained enhanced security and access to valuable resources, while the Mamluks secured their political survival and continued relevance in the region. While old rivalries and deep-seated tensions undoubtedly lingered beneath the surface, the treaty undeniably created a new and more stable framework for peaceful coexistence and cooperative engagement. The ink that dried on the treaty irrevocably realigned the intricate web of power dynamics in the Middle East. It was a turning point in history, subtle in its initial impact, but ultimately profound in its long-term consequences. The region, forever altered by this agreement, would never quite be the same again. The alliance, now officially sealed and documented, set the stage for a new chapter in the complex history of the Ottoman Empire and the Mamluk territories. The treaty transformed the Ottoman-Mamluk military relationship. Mamluk forces, once a threat, became valuable allies in Ottoman campaigns, especially against the Safavids. Their cavalry expertise and knowledge of desert terrain strengthened imperial defenses and protected pilgrimage routes. Mamluk cooperation reduced the need for constant Ottoman garrisons in Egypt. Regional security improved, with Mamluks helping to secure trade routes and suppress local unrest. Old rivalries persisted, but the treaty provided mechanisms for resolving disputes. Ottoman and Mamluk banners now flew together, signaling unity to their enemies. Military synergy became a hallmark of the new alliance. The treaty's economic impact was profound. Egypt's stability encouraged agricultural production and trade, benefiting both the Ottoman treasury and the Mamluk elite. Mamluks, now formal partners, ensured efficient tax collection and resource management. Reliable grain shipments and tax revenues flowed to Istanbul. Enhanced security made trade routes through Egypt and Syria more attractive, despite Portuguese competition. Prosperity in Egypt stimulated surrounding regions, fueling economic growth. The alliance didn't reverse global trade shifts, but it maximized local advantages. Economic cooperation underpinned the new political order. The Ottoman-Mamluk Treaty of 1579, though imagined here, shows how alliances can reshape history. A stable, cooperative Egypt allowed the Ottomans to focus on external threats and fostered economic growth. Cairo might have experienced a renaissance, blending Ottoman and Mamluk influences. The treaty set a precedent for managing powerful local elites through negotiation, not just conquest. This model could have made the empire more resilient and flexible. History is shaped as much by adaptation and cooperation as by conflict. What other hidden pivots might have changed the world?